Okay, to note, this forum is being Zoomed, so it's a continuation of the service. And we're going to try and stay mic'd so that the questions will be heard as well as the answers. What? What do you say?
Everyone left the Zoom.
Oh, everybody's off Zoom. Okay, well. We'll still mic because some of us are hard of hearing. So the nice thing about today is, and this is part of my not knowing, Alicia, Alex, is a friend of our congregation, so they've been here many times. I didn't know she did this. I think it's just very exciting. So thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm definitely an undercover queer person. I grew up queer in a very conservative home, and so I still feel not safe, I think, sometimes, pretty easily. So yeah. I'm ready to answer questions if you all have any. I do better with questions than just talking.
Is the program just simply getting teens together and creating a group, or is there more to it?
Yeah, so the program is kind of multifaceted. So I do go into schools and help with their gender sexuality training as part of their sex ed programs. I find that to be something that I enjoy and I'm pretty good at. I'm good with all the jokes and goofing around that happens in those groups, and it's nice because I don't give any answers about sex or anything. I'm here just to talk about gender and sexuality, not anything, any other weird questions. I just say I don't answer those. We also host safe spaces training that's free for the community, and so I've gone places like middle schools and met with all the teachers. We've gone into businesses, and it's about a 1-hour program, and we get to teach about basically how to be allies and the importance of providing safe spaces for youth. And so we kind of go into the Trevor Project and some of those statistics and how just having an accepting community decreases suicidality significantly for teens. Something everyone might not know is that queer youth, there tends to be a huge intersection of behavioral health needs on top of being queer, and because of that intersectionality. And then it can be even more complicated if you're also, if you've immigrated here, or there's lots of different things that can play into that, but all of those things tend to increase kiddos' chances of attempting or being successful in taking their lives, or even just self-harming or getting involved in drugs and alcohol, which that's a kind of a big thing about our support group, is that we like to find connectivity with kids and find good outlets that would discourage people from using drugs and alcohol. We're a big part of our grant is through Carillon, which is funded through marijuana sales in Washington State. And they're able to give us that tax money as part, because we have to submit reports about how we don't allow people to use drugs. And we have people come in from the community that do give those kinds of talks. We do get to have all sorts of people from the community come and share at Triple Point. We try to have one speaker a month. And then the biggest thing is a safe space where kids can talk about queer topics. They can just be themselves. They can go by the name they want to go by, even if no one at home calls them the name they want to go by. They get the pronouns used that they prefer, and they just feel safe, and they're around other people. It's hard to feel alone. It's hard to feel like you're the only queer kid in your class, And the thing is, there's probably more, but they're also scared. And so finding that, you realize there's these other queer kids at your school, and it's just incredible. And so we have an 11 to 13 program where you have to have parental consent to be in there. And those kiddos have such supportive homes, and it's so sweet to work with them. And then from 13 to 18, you don't need parental consent anymore, so they can come in themselves and sign the paperwork. And because it is behavioral health, so it is under HIPAA and all of those things. And the older group is a lot more challenging because it is kids who come from difficult homes, either socioeconomically or just a history of family abuse, from generations, or maybe alcohol abuse or drug abuse, that kind of thing. And so they face a lot more challenges. And that tends to be our biggest group and also the most challenging to navigate. And then we do host a virtual group once a week as well. And we actually have kiddos from all over the state that are more in rural areas that don't have access. And I do try to connect with schools like Tenasket and Orondo, different places, and say that, share the information so that they have resources. Because a lot of those places, there's no like GSA or like queer support groups in their schools. They might think they're the only queer person in their entire town, and so it's nice that the counselors are able to refer them to our program. I just talked a whole bunch, so what do we have?
So I'm part of the social justice team, so we're like really interested in the networks and how the different organizations connect to make our region stronger. And so you just laid that out there with having virtual or online. So do you work with Thriving Together, North Central Washington? That seems like a really good partner for Akin because they have these groups all around the region, and the mental health aspect of what you're doing. Is that a group that you connect with?
Yeah. Actually, I was there all day Friday in their mental health first aid class. I get to do North Central Thriving Together. They're located under Merrill's Orthodontics over in East Wenatchee. Oh, we're in East Wenatchee. Yeah. They do, and they're fantastic. They do offer a ton of support, especially for our behavioral health, like ongoing education. So they connect with all different areas, right? So then they'll have somebody come in from wherever and do de-escalation training. That was another training that I got to do. And it might all seem kind of silly, but it's actually super helpful. And then I can take some of that information back, and teens actually really need a lot of those tools. They don't know how to de-escalate when things get out of hand. So I get to learn all this stuff, and then I get to work on it with the kiddos. So, oh, GSA or QSA. GSA is Gay Straight Alliance, or QSA is Queer Straight Alliance. And the idea is it's not just for gay kids. If you're an ally or you're gay, you can come here and be safe. It's a group in the school. It's usually hosted by a teacher. They require a teacher to host it. Triple Point has gone there multiple times to talk with their kiddos. Unfortunately, I have seen at least 5 schools that have had to close their program in the last 2 years. I talk with the teachers, and I know there's queer kids at their school because I actually work with those kids. And the teachers say that they can't get anyone to come, and that kids are afraid to be seen walking through the door. And the same thing, that teachers had their pride flag ripped down a couple times in their classroom, and they aren't putting it back up. And that's hard to hear. And the kiddo they found out who did it is a straight A good kid whose sister is gay, and he is really angry about it. So it's hard. Queer is, the best definition is that it's different. You're not part of the binary, you're maybe not straight, maybe you're figuring it out, but I feel like it's a good umbrella for lots of things, because at this point it's huge. I feel like that can get complicated, right? We've got lesbians, gays, transsexuals, transgendered. We have just a huge portion of people, and that even includes intersex people, which is always something that I feel really strongly about whenever people try to say you can only be a man or a woman, and it's like, that's not even true. Like, intersex people are real, and they actually make up more of the population than you would think. For every intersex person there is, it pretty much equates to redheads. So as many redheads as you might see around. And intersex can be a variety of things. It might be really easy to see externally, but sometimes it's just an internal thing where You may look female on the outside, but you actually might have testicles inside instead of ovaries. And so when most people find out either when they're born, because it's really obvious, or during puberty, when they don't have a natural puberty, or maybe when they try to have kids. And because there's so much ignorance around the topic, this feels super lonely. Yeah.
So as a retired pediatric nurse, this topic just is very challenging for me. I go from zero to disturbed after watching so many teenagers go through these difficult things with their families. I can picture many kids who I've taken care of that, you know, just witnessing how they are with an accepting nurse, and then their family walks in and their whole demeanor changes, their name changes, and the grandma that they adore is giving them a hard time. Anyway, personally, it makes me sick. But anyway, my question is, when I was taking care of these kids, a lot of the times I did wonder legally, you know, I knew that I could talk to them and support them on a private level, but I didn't have a lot of resources, and I wasn't always sure about legally what I could tell these kids. I knew over 13 you could give them a card or you could tell them things, but under 13, I often, to support the nurses that are still at the bedside, what can they do with these kids when they come in with suicidal ideation or other, sometimes it would come up if they were admitted for other reasons and you just saw the family dynamics. What do you recommend?
It is super hard under 13. Obviously 13 and up, it's a lot easier to work with because you can have a more private relationship with that kiddo. I will say that even some conservative families, when their younger kid has become suicidal or has been released, then they will let their kid come. But a lot of the time, they don't let them continue coming. There's a lot of rhetoric that we, as a group, are trying to encourage them to be gay. And I'm just like, no, we actually don't encourage you to be anything or to not be anything. You just get to be who you want to be. And when you're a middle schooler and a teen, you're figuring yourself out. Your favorite color might change. Your gender identity it can change. And I've found that if you just give kids space, they'll figure themselves out. And it doesn't matter. Just let them do their thing, and it is super difficult. I do have therapists that are able to refer their kids to my group, but again, under 13, if you don't have a supportive parent, I need a parent's signature saying that they're okay with their kid coming to my group.
Under 13, you can't give them anything.
You can't.
Under 13, you give
Oh,
them
yeah.
information. I'm trying to think, what's the best thing the bedside nurse could do? Is they probably can't legally give the information to the kids 13 and older. I'm trying to think.
Even for behavioral health, like support groups.
Right, like
Yeah.
some kind of connection to a kid, or give them just that information.
Sometimes we have other programs like WISE, and that's like a wraparound intensive care for kiddos who are struggling, because it's also counseling for parents, and I find kiddos that way because it's advertised at our location and I work there, and so their therapist will usually come to me and say, this is going on, and I usually try to connect with the parent because that's kind of the path to the kid, and I really do try to let them know, like, there's a lot of fear and ignorance around it. We don't talk about sex. It just doesn't come up. It's not needed. The only time we do, the caveat to that is Planned Parenthood comes once a year, and they're the ones who share that information and talk about safe sex. And I like that because I want parents to know, like, I'm not trying to indoctrinate your kid or say weird things to your kid. A lot of the time with those younger kids, they want to come in and make bracelets, and they want to talk about a gay character in a book. They're just so excited because there's this gay character in a book, and they can talk about it with someone who is going to be excited and not like, you shouldn't read that book anymore because it's going to make you gay, you know?
Well,
Does
that's
that-
good.
does that answer?
Mostly we do those, I just really did have private conversations where I was very supportive.
And referring to queer therapists too, that's the
Yeah.
other thing, but that's hard.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
When you're a professional and you're providing services, these laws really matter. But if you're a 12-year-old and you're talking to another 12-year-old, no one can punish you for telling them information, right? And if you're just a lay person who cares about a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old, you can talk to them. And sometimes that's the only way people are going to get good information is through a community that shows caring. So I just want to point out the deep ethical rules about silence are different for non-professionals.
That's really great.
So now I'm worried about all the 11, 13-year-olds. In your position, I was just at the clinic the other day and I saw nothing in the exam room about anything because it wasn't a pediatric area. But if you've got the younger kids there, they're already halfway there because they have supportive parents. So I don't know what my question is. I guess I'm just worried. I guess I was thinking pediatric areas, do they have any kind of posters or anything where you just can't? Okay, this is news to me, so
If you ask supportive parents, I will say our pediatrician, one of my kiddos, who identifies as male, likes to wear dresses and stuff. And decided to wear a dress that day we went in. And great pediatrician, she's like, oh, I see you're wearing a dress. Why do you look so fun? Just like how it feels. And she says, do you like me to say he with you, or do you? And he's like, no, of course I'm a boy. But I loved that she had that conversation with him, because, so it can happen, but.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, back here.
I'm just wondering about whether transportation is a problem for some of those kids that would like to participate in the group but don't have a way to get there.
We are very strategic in making sure that wherever we meet is on a bus route.
Okay.
And then we also have Link come in and talk and teach kids how to take the bus where they need to go.
Great.
And that we build our meeting place and our time around bus routes. Because, yeah, it does become a challenge. I can transport. I would rather not. It gets really complicated. So unless there's an emergency, and usually it's transporting home because they missed their bus or something like that. Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was an opportunity, for the congregation to step up as allies. So I'm glad it's on, and it's
Yeah.
coordinated with the hospital.
Yes, I'm very grateful for our bus here. We have a great bus system.
Grateful that you exist. It just, I mean, it really makes me almost want to cry. I watch so much pain.
Yeah.
It's just,
And I will, yeah.
glad you exist.
And it does decrease suicidality. That's a huge thing.
These are there for us to support you more.
Anybody's welcome to be a volunteer. There is a background check, and you have to go through gender and sexuality training. We kind of have some hoops to jump through to make sure that we don't get people in who are, I don't know. I get all sorts of people asking to be involved, but not people who necessarily want to show up all of the time. We do get a lot of people in their graduate programs that come in and volunteer that way, and that's nice, that are going for their social worker degree or for behavioral health of some sort. And if you guys ever want to do food, I can't say it enough. Teens and kids, food's the biggest thing,
How do we do that? Is for your meetings or is it go?
So there's two options. We have one person who will occasionally just bring some chips and candy and drop them off with me at the office. If you're going to come to a group, we do have just a little bit of paperwork that we have to do, and I would want to make sure that the kids felt safe. I always try to let the kids know if any new adult is going to be there, because it's a small enough town that it's reasonable to be scared that, oh, that's my neighbor, or oh, that's somebody who knows my mom, so it's a big thing. We always try to talk about it a lot, so I like to give a couple weeks. I think the spaghetti feed people came, and we were able to talk to the kids for weeks ahead of time, and they were all okay with it, and we did say at any point they could tap out and let us know that they didn't feel safe, which is always a thing in our group. We have a safe word in our group, and we have, the kids are really good with confidentiality. I will say the only thing is that they want me to say hi to them in public, and I always tell them, you have to say hi to me. I can't say hi to you. So, yeah, you had another question.
Yeah, I was just curious about, so you're under the wing of the YWCA here. That's your hosting nonprofit?
No. Akin is my location, so that's who I'm employed under, is Akin. It used to be Children's Home Society of Washington.
Okay.
And I work closely with the Wenatchee Library and the YMCA. They provide us space for free. And we do change for our location now for safety, because we did have some serious safety concerns at the end of last year. So you'll notice if you see our flyer, it just says we meet in a safe place. It no longer says where we meet. And you actually have to get involved with me to get the address. Like every week I send out an email on Friday, hey kids, we're here, same time For safety.
for safety. So won't say, a can meeting or a.
Oh.
No, they're really good, and even, it's actually, I always have to tell the kids what room we're in, because they, at the front desk, they won't even tell you where we are. They will just say, you can go look, which is kind of great, honestly. We do feel really safe in the locations where we are. The times we don't feel safe is when we have to leave at the end of the night, especially in winter, it's dark at 6 p.m. We're going out to the bus stop. I think you can imagine some of the things that can come up. People can't come in to those spaces and be violent, right? But they can wait outside of those spaces. And generally speaking, we've only ever had trouble with other kids that have found out about it. And yeah, it was really awful. So I'm very, very, very protective of those kids. So.
Yeah, so you just go back and think, how can we improve?
I like meeting kids. Just if you tell me.
Oh, sorry. If you tell me a time that you guys would like to do food, we can plan it out. I would say let's maybe wait till after June. June is probably my craziest month of the year, May and June. So if you guys would like to do something in July, we could even plan it be our outing day and go walk to the little grassy area between the YMCA and the library and do something fun that way. The biggest thing, anybody who comes, I would talk to you. You do have to sign confidentiality agreement, and we do take that really seriously. So if it did come up again that some information was shared, then you would never be allowed to come back. Same with pictures. I don't even have pictures with the kids. Like, I've taken pictures of some of the things we've done. People always want pictures because it's a fun program, and I'm like, yeah, well, there never will be because we can't. So even with their permission, we're not comfortable doing that.
We just bring, I mean, I don't need to come to
Oh, okay.
gatherings, we can just bring food.
Yeah,
to you or-
I have an office in Wenatchee at the Akin place, and I have a little shelf that I keep snacks, and then, what do you say, like divide it out so that we always have snacks. And then another thing is easy meals, so I always keep ramen. And I try not to ask questions, but we do make it clear, like, if it's for when you need food, right? And that's, yeah, kids don't seem to have any problem asking for it, which is great, because I'd rather give you ramen than have you eat 4 bags of mini chips candy, right? I mean, I don't know that ramen's that much different, but, things like that are really helpful.
It still feels like soup.
Yeah. And if you ever have socks to donate, we can never have enough socks. The amount, yeah.
There's a place, I was just gonna bring up Wanda because.
I do get a donation from them a few times a year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I do not remember your schedule, if we could know when you.
Oh,
so
yes.
ahead of time, like you said, you want to go, you don't want to. It's in your order of service.
Currently Fridays.
I'm looking for it in my bag and. I volunteered by WC through SOAR. If anybody's interested, I'll orientate you. But,
And you guys are great because
we
you,
have so many socks, it's insane. They're going out with, anyways, I will save you socks.
I will connect with you because I think Dusty's been stressed out because Dusty and I usually work out gender affirming clothing swap twice a year. And I know that she's just been dealing with a lot and getting everything set up. And so I'll connect with you. That would be great because you guys every year have given us bins of clothes.
So many socks, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I like toss.
The amount of kids that come in with tore up shoes and holy socks and things like that, it's a lot, And anytime I bring them, they go, And these kids, if we do the clothing exchange, they will be trying on any kind of thing over their clothes and having just the best time. And
Sweatshirts and socks.
sweatshirts, and that's the things I get asked about is anything large and above seems to be the preference. Everyone seems to like baggier clothes that can hide their body. Yeah, I mean, we do have a couple people who identify as female and like to have dresses or things like that or more tight-fitting things, but I would say 90% or more of our kiddos want bigger things. So, oh, couldn't even see you.
Hi. So I'm here if you have any questions about what it's like being a teenager and queer. Any questions like that? Mom didn't say that earlier. You forgot it, so I have to say it now. Just letting you guys, just letting everyone know.
Do you want to identify how you identify? Or
Oh, non-binary and bisexual.
and what's your name?
Elise, it's on my name tag.
Nice. Perfect.
They, them.
So I have a question and a comment. First of all, are you guys connected with the Lambda Society in Seattle? Well, we have a trans grandchild, and the first thing that happened when she identified, started this whole process, they were connected with the Lambda Society. Well, it's a really well-funded group that supports the queer community. And when you get associated with them, they offer all kinds of counseling. Mostly it's free. It's a group. It's by Zoom. They also, they get these donations. Like they'll get 100 tickets to a Mariners game or a football game or something. And then they put it out to all the parents who are connected, and first come, first serve. The whole family can go. And then all those 100 people sit together so they have a community. And I don't know, my family's found it very neat to be a part of that. So Lambda, Lambda. It's illegal. It's illegal. They are, they provide a lot of legal support at every level.
I think that's where I've heard of legality.
Yeah. But they also have a community. A community supports it. Yeah.
Really great. I'm always looking for more allies and groups that will help support this.
And mine's more a comment and a giant thank you for being present for these kids. I grew up in a religious family, and I repressed because that's the only way I could deal with stuff, and I'm still dealing with undoing that repression. And so to have it, because being different used to be in the mental health book as a diagnosis. In my early time, it was taken away. Right, and one of my points there is that the community, the culture creates that mental illness. It doesn't have to be there. If you know that you belong, and there are other people, because I thought I was the only one in the world when I came out at 42. I didn't think there were other. And so I lived two very different lives, and it's very disturbing to step between those and figure out what the heck is going on and why didn't I know. So to have the support is so critical to finding out that thread of who you actually are. And so thank you for being present, and for this community who is supporting. This is a good place to be.
Thank you for sharing. I think you brought up something that's kind of been a theme, and that's that it can feel really lonely. And I feel like I hear a lot, why are we shoving homosexuality and everything in everyone's faces? It's in these movies, and it's just like, I don't know, we have hetero relationships in all these movies. I just don't see, just, if you cannot feel alone in the world, I think that's amazing. And finding out who you are, these kids are so brave. I am impressed with how brave they are to be themselves, because I still struggle with being myself, growing up that way. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. You're in a different school.
I definitely can say things about it. So, I've been to 2 different schools in this area, that being Westside High School and Pinnacles Prep. And it's like night and day different they are. Pinnacles Prep, you would just hear racial slurs and the F slur all the time, and there'd be pretty much nothing done about it. So like, you couldn't be yourself and be safe. That just wasn't an option. And then this school year, I go over to Westside High School, and I've heard no homophobic, transphobic, racist comments a single time. We have a GSA that you can go to without feeling like you're gonna get hurt or bullied or targeted. You can openly talk about it without having to be in fear. It's just crazy how different it is.
And I will say the Pinnacles Prep does try to be accepting. It's just difficult to navigate because you still are going to have the children you have. And I would say that in going and talking with teachers and administrators, there is a desire for it to be safe. And what I hear from them is, I can't do anything when they're going from class to class and they're in the hallway calling each other homophobic slurs and things like that. And unfortunately, there's been a resurgence of it because my little third grader, I go on a field trip with him and kids start calling another kid gay or something, and I was like, hey, we don't say that. That's a slur. And you could see on the look in his face, no one had ever told him that he shouldn't say that. And so it's hard. You would think at this point it would be easier to be queer, and we all were in middle school. It's hard to be in middle school just as a regular person. And so, yeah, being queer is hard. Everyone it means that you're teaching more than just about heterosex. Like, you're teaching about homosexuality and how to have safe sex regardless of your sexuality. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just a very basic beginning. Exactly. Normalizing everyone's different and has to be honored.
Well, and as you get older, safety is really, really important. You all probably remember that this came up just in doing sex ed in school. People are upset just that we had sex ed and thought that it would encourage more people to have sex. And what does the research say? That places that have a lot of sexual education starting at a younger age with age-appropriate education, that we have less STDs, we have less, they're engaging in sexual activity later in life. We're having less teen pregnancies. So I don't think that education is the villain, I think that it's good to be educated, and yeah, kind of taking the taboo away, I think, is in our benefit. Yeah, I know. The ignorance is a big thing, and I think being educated and sharing with the people around you when you can. I feel like I'm on a soapbox sometimes when people say something just wild out of the box, but I think it's important because people are really uneducated on this topic or even how it works. And what was the question that you asked?
The atmosphere of the school.
Okay. The unicorn thing. All schools that I've seen between Wenatchee and East Wenatchee, they send you home with a thing saying that you can have your kid opt out of that day of sex ed. So where they talk about the difference between sexuality and gender, they're not the same thing. And just, how to be safe, It does look a little different depending on what you're engaging in. And when you're a teenager, I feel like that's the appropriate time to learn about it. We have a unicorn picture that we actually do with kids in it, or the queer galaxy, and it's, yeah.
So I may have a grand misunderstanding here, but I thought that the non-binary population was easily 10% of humanity for eons. How, it's like, so you have 10% of your population, they're automatically alienated? Well, what percent is black? It's like, it's just what it is. And so, I don't know, maybe it's because people take it so, like it's a personal affront to them, what other people are. And,
Yeah.
But you believe in science, Laura.
Well, and the more
shame on me.
the more we learn about science, the more we see that the chromosomal makeup of sexual, not sexuality, but your sex.
It just drives me nuts that ignorance is as profound as such a big.
Yeah, no, and that it is much more of a spectrum.
It is.
Actually, like the features that you have, whether they're predominantly considered male, female, those things like that.
A thing that I like to say about the sex ed thing is that teenagers will be teenagers. They'll try to get into alcohol. They'll try to have sex. You can't stop them. You can just tell them how to have it safely so that they don't like get an STD or try to drive while drunk. Like, in my eyes, if you're a parent, you have two choices. Either tell your kid, I don't want you to be drinking, but if you do, just tell me so I know you're safe and I can drive you home so I know no one tries to do anything and that you don't crash. Or you can tell them, drinking is bad, I will get you in trouble if you drink. Then they try to drive home and get in a crash, and all of a sudden you have one less child. Don't look at me like that.
At least you are very wise. Wiser than many adults. I'm being honest.
I mean, I've seen it since I was like 10, so.
Well, there are so many cultures that have a broad spectrum of gender identity. And this, we're the other two
Yeah.
spirits, that's the first thing and not just two spirits, but, and they were honored.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
And I'm not sure why we got here.
I think it's the Bible.
The Bible?
That other non-scientific tome.
To me, it's the abuse of the Bible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It's the abuse of Christianity, using it as a weapon. It's not.
When my kids were teenagers here, we did that.
We did OWL. Great program.
What's OWL?
I know Brian goes, I'm scarred for life.
My kid said, Mom, stop talking about sex all the time.
Sorry. But I mean, they got there. They
Yeah.
got that information.
They did.
It wasn't any big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they remember about driving home in the 14s and coming from a church class, he said, I didn't know that that many words for masturbation.
There you go.
You never know what they're gonna learn.
Yeah, right.
But it's so helpful to have a trusted adult to help navigate those conversations, right? One, for good information, and then two, that safety is considered, right? Or what's appropriate is considered, especially when it comes to masturbation. Is it appropriate on the bus? No. Where is it appropriate, right? Like those are big conversations to have. And it sounds like everyone's just, y'all were so great with your kids that you were able to do that with them.
Yeah, the OWL program is really powerful for teenagers. It's designed for young people. But I had a Mormon leader come to me when he found out that we were not only doing OWL, but there was an adult portion to the curriculum, and he could see that in his community, he was not the head at the top of that Mormon congregation and that ward, but he was active, and he could see the suffering that was being caused by the lack of information. And I'm not going to go into the specifics, but the stories that he told about other people, other adults in his ward, and came to me to ask, because he could tell the way that I spoke in public forums that I was not a liberal extremist with an agenda. And so he came to me and actually wanted to know more about our sex curriculum. So just OWL is a really well-designed, well-developed program for people of all ages.
That's amazing. Do you guys host that here? Or would you be open to hosting it?
Oh, yeah.
Why not? We don't have a huge, you know, all the kids that used to.
Yeah.
So we had medical providers lead.
Oh,
We had
good.
Tricia Ortiz
Oh, yeah.
and Jill LaRue,
That was before.
which is an NP. And Tricia is still really, I mean, she's heavily involved in Planned Parenthood.
Mhm.
So she might be convinced, she and Jill, I mean, because Jill shows up once in a while.
Why not have it here for other groups?
Yeah, but at least they could coach us on it, what it's gonna take, that kind of thing, because generally there's a certain number of resident nurses and docs within our
Yeah.
congregation, and even if they don't teach it, they could be a resource that parents might appreciate.
Yeah. And if you know anyone who's parents of younger children, I will say, if being worried that they're going to learn about sex, if they have a cell phone, I just think,
It's done.
yeah, it's better, you know, when they're ready to ask you the question, they're ready for the answer. Does that mean you expand on it forever? No, but if you're going to ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. Because if you're going to ask me, you're going to ask your friend at school, and who knows what. Do you want to share how you thought babies were made? From school?
I guess someone's talking about praying mantises and how they eat the heads of the males. And I don't know. I don't remember this at all.
You came home in
You
second
remember. Second grade me, somehow whatever they said, it translated into my mind. Babies are made by the mothers eating the ball of the man, and that's how they get pregnant. And then my mom was like, "You have 2 siblings." How?
I'll share a little, trying to make it short, but for 11 years I was on the school board in Entiat, and when the first sex ed mandate came down, very conservative community, and my kids grew up with a Where Did I Come From book, and I did a daycare, and boy, they headed straight to the kids' room for that book, hungry for knowledge. But then a little film came out, so my friend, who's a nurse and was going to teach this, was going to propose it. So I watched it, and I set my kids down, and this knock on the door, 2 mothers, horrified that we were going to do this, horrified. They'd never seen the film, but I'm going to tell you that one of them was my neighbor. And so I was at the bus stop with those kids, and I heard about what they were talking about, what their parents, who had at that time the dish, which was the big thing where you could get TV up the Entiat Valley, the horrible shows that they were watching. And that's what always struck me, is the contradiction. As you said, now there's nothing a child can't find, and how are they going to be safe if that's how you let them find out compared to? But I will never forget that, because we're watching this, my kids are sitting here. I think my son might have been about 5 or 6, I don't know, the girls were older, and I just thought, these people are so hypocritical. And we didn't get to use the movie in the sex ed class because of the protests. Yeah. But my friend Judy, who was an amazing nurse, is still teaching sex ed. This is years later, and very good at navigating all those issues. But that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with hypocrisy. And what's the other word I just used? See, well, contradiction. Yeah, thank you. I need help. The contradiction being, we could hear the yelling and the drinking from our yard, and yet let's not let our kids, and I won't even tell you what happened to all their kids. It's another story. Anyway. Oh, sorry.
I'm interested in that age cutoff between parental 13-year-olds don't need parental sign off on that. I'm sorry?
It's Washington State.
Right.
Lots of parents are really unhappy about it, actually.
Oh, yeah.
My Family
That's-
Resource Center, I hear all
That's
the
why
time.
I'm interested in it, because I argue with
Because,
people.
yeah, your kiddo, from the time you're 13, my kiddo, we can go to the doctor together, and I always offer for my doctor to ask my kiddo with me out of the room if they want me in the room. And then I always say, if there's something you want to talk about to your doctor without me, I will just step out. I know that's overwhelming, but once your kiddo's 13, I no longer have the right to my kids' medical information. I don't have the right to their therapist or any of those kinds of things.
13.
When did that happen?
It's been for as long as for a very long time.
Okay.
And
It's
people
blowing
have
up
very
again.
mixed feelings about it.
It's blowing up again.
Yeah, kids need some privacy sometimes, but there are a lot of parents who are concerned that these things, they can get help when they don't want them to get help.
And there's some genuine concerns, if you've got a kiddo with like serious mental health issues and you don't really have the right to know if they're taking their medication. There's genuine concerns, and that's when I've worked with foster care. I've seen it with foster kids where that does become complicated and difficult to manage, but I would say on the whole, I love our kids having the right to health care without their parents' opinions, as well as learning to navigate that before you're 18, and in a safe way where you still have a parent that you can ask without it being really weird, when you know how to like check into a doctor's office when you get there without your parent. I just love kids doing that before they leave. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of, when you're 18.
Hands down, it's preferable to have these kids have those rights because most healthcare providers are not going to do something that's adverse to those kids.
Yeah.
So if you think of it that way, you have to kind of have a general trust of healthcare providers. So hands down, I support that.
But there's a joke that if your child comes back from school different, the whole right you send them that you picked up from the child. I mean, there's this argument at school.
And if you raise your child with this, able to make decisions and feeling strong about themselves, if there is a problem. Sorry. They'll be strong.
There are people who
They'll be strong enough to just
Yeah.
feel like they can't tell me. But it's so
Absolutely.
relief to a lot of these kids to hear, you can talk to someone and your parents don't have to know. It's such a gift. Because but it's their parents are not always the same.
many states do the same thing.
Washington's the only one I know of, but
That's the only one I've experienced.
yeah, I don't even think Virginia is that way. I only know a few states because you have to know people that live there. Yeah. Parents are very upset. I had parents tell me I'll never be out of the room until my kid's 18, and I don't know. I always think back on Prohibition, like how well did that work, right?
So I just was wondering about the other places that have the program akin, Walla Walla, you said? The other location? Yeah, Triple Point.
Point's the name of the program.
Okay.
It's a sciencey term. Walla Walla has one and Vancouver has one. We don't have them on the other side of the mountains really because there is a ton of support. There are a ton of peer support groups in the Seattle area, in the Everett area, in Bellingham, because it's more of a liberal kind of area.
Okay.
So it is more these